Hey, gang, how to get more done doing online collaboration. And for that, we're going to be taking a look at some of the tools that Google provides us through their Google Apps, which would be Google Docs, Google Slides, as well as Google Sheets. Now, before we get that go into that, I just want to get a couple of things explained for you guys. So the Hangout on Air is part of an event page, and most of you are probably looking down at the event page where we have our comments at the bottom there. So feel free to please add some questions or comments that you want there. Because we're going to be taking a look at some of the screen sharing, if you want a bigger screen, click on the YouTube link in the bottom right-hand corner. That will open this presentation up into the YouTube channel, and then you can go and get a full screen or just a larger screen and still able to make comments through the YouTube comment field there. To archive it, and you'll be able to come and take a look at this in the future, later. What I'd like to do now is introduce our guests. I'm going to start off with Ronnie, if you would like to introduce yourself, and we'll go from right to left, I guess.
Wherever we are, yes. Hi, it's wonderful to be here. I have worked with Trevor Beck for quite a while. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm introducing me. I'm Ronnie Benser. I'm the Hangout Helper. I'm here to help you use Hangouts. Thanks, Trevor.
Michael.
Hello, I'm Michael Daniels. I'm part of the user-to-user group. I help Ronnie in the Hangout Mastery, and I also a very big proponent of business Hangouts as well. So anytime you guys need any help or anything, just yell at me. I'd be glad to help you out. I love to help people. It's a new, Google is new to a lot of people, and I like to help out with that. So anytime I can. And Trevor and I truly have done quite a few Hangouts together. So thank you, Trevor.
Not a problem. Heather.
My name is Heather Crafter. I'm a crafty girl trying to figure out this techie world, so I'm just here to learn, and I've done a little bit of collaborating with Drive and different docs, but I want to learn, so that's what I'm here for.
Excellent, and you're going to be finding out some really cool functionality that as you work with other people, it just makes things so much easier. So what I'm going to do first here is I'm just going to do some quick screen share of some slides, and we're going to talk about why Google Apps. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. We'll just pin that for the moment. So why Google Apps? Well, first of all, Google Apps, anything that you create is stored in the cloud, which means that we're all using, everyone has access to it, are using the same document, which means no emailing, no sneakernet. So the files are all stored in one place where everyone can have location, whether it's on your mobile device or on your desktop device. And best of all, of course, it's free. It also has a Google search built right into your Google Drive, so you don't actually have to spend a lot of time trying to create folders and stuff. You can actually just throw everything in there and then do a search for it just based on a term either by the title of the document or even some term that's stored within the document itself. Google Apps are easy to share folders or documents. It's available for desktop and mobile, and the mobile part's a really interesting point because not only can you edit information on your mobile device, but it's actually a great way to replace PDFs. If any of you have ever tried to look at a PDF on a mobile device, you have to download it first, then you have to kind of zoom in to see it, and then you have to scroll left and right in order to read a sentence at a time. When you use a Google App document, Google actually reformats it so their text will wrap to the size and width of your mobile device, which makes it really, really good for those people that don't want to have to download those PDFs. And the last thing we're going to talk about is its easy collaboration tools is what we're going to talk about today, making it very easy regardless who's using it, where you're connecting from, and it's very cool when you see it in action. The last thing I want to talk about is the actual collaboration. In the collaboration, there's 3 types of access when you create a document. You can have view-only access, where everyone who's got access to the file can make edits, or comments, which means anyone that's got access and has the access of comments can highlight a piece of text, insert a comment, or even do what's called suggested edits. If you've used Microsoft Word at all, if you use those red line tools or any of those other kind of things, you're already familiar with what the commenting is. the beauty of this is, as opposed to where you send out a document to 15 different people and then have it come back and then try and figure out where the changes are, everything's stored in one document. So you don't get into that emailing back and forth. So what I'm going to do first here is we're going to start by taking a look and sharing some of our documents. And the first one I want to share is something that has a view only. So my colleagues here are all going to be pulling up their documents. Look at one called Sherlock Holmes, which has a view-only access to it. And I'll just share my screen here.
Trevor, let me ask you a quick question.
Sure thing.
Are you wanting us to pull up the document and type, or do you want us to do that while we're actually screen sharing the document as well?
At this point in time, I just I'm going to ask Heather to pull up her document and screen share it so that we can take a look at what a view-only looks like.
Okay.
Okay, so Heather, I'm going to pin you right now. So this is Heather's document, and as you can see at the top there, it says view only. And she only has the commands file, edit, and view. If she tries to do some typing, if you go ahead please and try and do something, Heather can't do anything because she only has the view only access. Up in the top right hand corner you can see some icons. Those are people who are accessing right now. The others that are accessing it have an access where it basically is allowing anyone who has the URL to come take a look at it. So Google actually assigns them little cute icons. So that's a view only. Now what I want to do is show you what it looks like when I take a look at my sharing. And let me just pull that up again. We're all going to move into the second document. Can you see my my document okay, guys?
Yes.
Thank you. So this is the same document where we all have edit access. And what that means is that the people can actually start typing as well. Ronnie, just for the heck of it, on that first paragraph, can you select a different color for your font and just do some typing?
You bet.
So we'll actually be able to see the cursor there. Looks like, I think it's, yeah, there he is. Ronnie's the anonymous gopher. And normally it wouldn't be red. We're just doing this so that you guys can see what's going on. And Ronnie and I are working on the same document. So there's actually no emailing back and forth as we talked about before. Ronnie, you keep typing there. And then, Heather, can you go to the very bottom of the document and type something? And Michael, you go ahead and type anything you want, anywhere you want. And I'm going to pick a different color here just so you can see where I've done some typing. And dog and that's good enough. The beauty of this document and the way it shares is even though I'm on the top of page 2, Ronnie continues working at the top of 1. And if I go to the bottom, and there's our anonymous gopher typing at the bottom of the document. So we actually don't have to have the same view. We can continue doing our typing, adding stuff, comments, or sorry, adding text and stuff, working on a single document, but we don't have to be on the same page at the same time. Where this comes really handy is I could create a table of contents and say, Ronnie, you're going to look after the contents on horses. Michael's going to look after the chapter on dogs. Heather's going to look after kitty cats. And I'm going to look after mice for whatever reason. And we can just start typing and not have to worry about who's doing what. We just start doing our own typing, doing our own thing, filling this out. For those of you that have kids at home that are doing documents, and you're all probably familiar with this, what will end up happening is at some point in time, one that says, I have to work on this group project, I need to do my half, and Jimmy's going to do his half, and Carol's going to do the poster or the introduction. And then the night before we find out that Jimmy hasn't done the work that he was supposed to do. Here at this point, if we were to use Google Docs, at any point in time, the kids could work on that document. We can go in and say, hey, Jimmy, I noticed you haven't done any work on this document. We need to hand this in. It's really important you actually get your act together and get this stuff done. It's really cool, and the more people you get working on it, the cooler it actually ends up being. Now, that's taking a look at the document where everyone has edit access. But let's say I've got a document that I don't want anyone else to mess with because I spend a lot of time, but I want to get feedback from them. So what I can do is use a document and set up what's called the access. So I'm going to go back there.
Hey, Trevor.
Yes.
Can you repeat what that one is called, please?
So the next one.
Yes,
the next
please.
one is comment, and I'll show that in just 2 seconds.
Okay.
Did I break up again?
You did.
Thank you for catching me. Okay, so we're going back. So here's the same document. Now, what's happened here is I'm working on this document, and maybe there's going to be someone that has something that they want to say. I'm just going to open up my screen a little bit so we can see what's happening. So what's Ronnie done? Or sorry, I'm reading Ronnie, and I shouldn't be reading Ronnie. I'm going to show you an example here. I'm going to highlight this piece of text here, Holmes. So Holmes here is spelled incorrectly. But I meant, and whether I own this document or not, or if I'm someone that has access to it, I can put in my comment here. So I can just say, hey, Heather, is this how you Now, Heather's online live right now. Heather, do you mind sharing your document? I probably caught you off guard. Okay, I'll switch to Heather's.
It's okay. All right.
Okay. And if you go up where it says comments in the top there, click on that comment button. Oh, there we can see all the different comments. And typically, and it may be the size of the way you've got your screen set up, what happens is normally you would see those comments off to the right-hand side like they were on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just switch back over there. So you can see these comments that are in here. Anybody can go in and hit into the reply there and put a reply in there. So I could send this comment to Heather. Heather can respond back, and we can actually have this long conversation just based on that one piece of text that we've highlighted. Michael, do you see the third paragraph where it says all but 4 stories are narrated by Holmes' friend?
I do.
Can you highlight that, and can you type in all but 6 stories as a correction?
How about all but 6?
So this is suggested edits, just like the redlining that we see in Microsoft Word. The nice thing about it is it's over the side here. I have control of whether I want to accept that. But maybe I'm not really ready to accept that. So we have this conversation where I say, are you sure I read it was only 4? And put that in. So again, Michael can do his research. And this doesn't have to be live. This can be, I'm doing this at 2 o'clock in the morning. Michael gets in at 6 o'clock, sees the comment, hits a reply back to me. And so this whole conversation can continue on, not as live time, but just throughout the day or throughout any time period. And I'll just, so he wants to go 5, I'll go, yes, that sounds good.
So negotiations can be made. That's amazing. I love this.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have to be facts at all.
And I'll go in and I'll type in 5. So you can see there where we have the conversations are going on. We can give them back and negotiate content as we go through. So when I said that these guys will see stuff, what ends up happening as well is about once an hour, Google goes through and takes a look at whatever changes have been made, whatever suggestions and comments have been made on the document. And Google will actually email me all those comments listed. So if there's 15 comments, about once an hour, Google goes and sends me a document and says, here are all the changes, and here's the conversation that's going on in regard to this one document. So I don't actually have to go back to the document all the time. I can just check my email, see where there's a change, if there's a question, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of power, both live as we speak, or else, as is the case with comments and suggested edits, changes that could be made during any point in time. Do you guys in my panel there have any questions or comments you want to make at this point?
I'll bring one up. Oh, Heather has that too. So sorry, Heather.
You're fine.
But this is Sandra saying that she loves the comments option and wished, or she could have used it today.
You know, and it's interesting. I had a document that I did a couple of weeks ago that these guys are familiar with, and I put it out to a group that we all belong into. I put it out at 9 o'clock asking for suggestions and edits and stuff like that. By 11 o'clock when I came back, I had about 30 different suggestions for that document. But because they were all contained in that one document, as opposed to people emailing me changes and stuff like that, it was easy to go through and check off and say yes, or get some clarification on some different pieces of information and stuff. When you see that kind of power, the first time you see like 30 different comments from 20 people from all over the world making comments, it's pretty wild. Michael, were you trying to flash me?
I wanted to ask one question.
Sure.
I noticed when you sent that document out to all of us and we all collaborated on it, it was absolutely fantastic. And we do it all the time at work. Is there a way to have it one-way collaboration with just the owner as opposed to getting everyone else's comments as well? Because all those 30 I was getting as well just because I made a comment onto that document, which is, there's nothing wrong with that because it kept me interested in the document. I was just wondering if there's a way to limit that, or do you know of a way? I'm just throwing that out there.
So you're talking about the notifications that you got in your email as being part of that. Yeah, actually there is. Let me just do a screen share here.
And I don't mean to deter us away from anything. I was just asking a question more than anything else.
No, that's a great question because you know, it can be quite overwhelming depending on the numbers. Typically, and there's nothing here, but what would happen is there it is. There's a notification under the comments link. So when I go to notifications, I can say just replies to you, or I can say none. So you can select those to decide what kind of traffic as far as email goes that you're going to get. That make sense?
That's awesome.
Yeah, for me, of course, I document, like Michael said, I want to know everything, or else maybe I don't. And I'm just going to check that document once every so often.
Yeah, that is nice. Very nice. Thank you very much for answering that, too. I noticed also, if someone is online with you, you can just go straight to comments as opposed to putting it in there as well. You can just comment back and forth between each other if they're on.
Yeah, actually, that's another function I was just going to show you. Thanks for bringing it up. So there's a great segue. So these are the comments, and as I mentioned, you can do these anytime. So Michael could be doing something at 10 o'clock. I can reply back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, et cetera, et cetera. If we're all online and we're not doing a hangout like we are now, there's actually this chat. And if I click on the chat button, it won't let me go in there. Oh, sorry. This is for collaborators. So if there's a collaborator at the moment, so let me just change this. Anyone who has this link can edit. And it might take a minute or a minute for the guys to get access to that. But what ends up happening, and it's not going to let me do this right now. Oh, you have to be signed in as well. Right now, you're all anonymous.
I can do a screen share of my document that does let me do that. So let me turn mine on. So up here is where the little item is. It says join chat. You will no longer be anonymous. Uh-oh. So I'll click on that. Oh, well, I thought I was going to. Oh, here we go. So down here on the bottom, I've got a little area where I can say, hey, you. And that goes out as a chat message, I think, to everyone. And the chat is live.
Whoever's accessing the document at that particular time will be able to see that. And that chat is only within that document. So it's not being broadcasted to anywhere else, just to the people that are logged in and looking at this document at this specific time. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep. So, I mean, if you happen to be working on the document and so who happens to be, you know, I mean, Ronnie, I know you work with people who are in different time zones and stuff, and you could be working on the document, and all of a sudden you'll notice the icon up here for someone else, and then you can actually have this live chat. Granted, Ronnie would just do a hangout because it's a lot easier, but sometimes you don't want to do all the fuss and muss of actually talking to anyone, and you just want to head down and just ask a couple quick questions.
So I'm still here. Actually, I'm going to turn off my screen share.
Okay.
I have a quick question for you.
Yep.
When we're seeing your screen, because you're the owner, you have a button that says resolve. In other words, you've had a chat conversation going back and forth about part of the document, and there was some comments with questions.
Right.
These are, I don't know how you call them. It's different than the chat comments. It's the editing comments, let's say.
That's actually a good way to put it. Yeah, the editing comments.
So you have the ability to say, okay, we're done discussing this. It's been resolved, and you hit a button. That disappears, right? Meaning all that conversation is gone now, or is that something you can bring back to see what the resolution came from?
It disappears, but it doesn't. It disappears, but it's still with the document. So I'll go back to sharing. So I'm going to resolve. I like that one, so I'm going to do that. So back here under comments, I can go in here, and there's all the different comments that we talked about. So someone happens to say, hey, you know, I said 7, and then Michael goes in and says, no, I said that we should do 5 instead. There's the conversation track there. So.
But the one up above it you had where we're talking about homes, there's a checkbox, so it looks like we can reopen or say it's not really resolved. We change our mind. So that's kind of
good eyes, Ronnie. That's exactly right. If for whatever reason you decide you want to reopen the issue, because I know it's not 5, Michael, it's got to be 8 because I just found the documentation. I can open that up. Sorry, man.
That's all right. That's all right.
And one of the other things while we're talking about this, because I know what happens if. What about revisions? And that's another great thing. It's not part of collaboration, but I am going to show you guys. There's a revision history. And we can take a look, and you can actually see where you'll see my name here, and you'll see anonymous and stuff. Anytime there's any changes made, the revisions are kept here. And I can actually go back, find the changes, because there again we have those changes were there. I can go in and I can restore this revision. Or if there's a piece of text, like how many times have we had a paragraph that we, at some point, we go, oh man, I was in revision 7, I'm on revision 10, I wish I had that paragraph still, but we deleted it. You can actually go to the revisions here, grab that piece of text, and then come back and paste it into your current document. How cool is that?
That is very cool. Going back in time, getting that perfect piece of text that we didn't think was so perfect at the time, but it really was.
Exactly.
And one of the tools that we use it for, like within our business, is someone will tell me that they did something at a certain time. I can go back in there and check exactly, say, no, you were about 3 hours before that, here's where you did this. So, I mean, it is a way to reference and check it out too. So, or if they make a mistake, or if they erase a formula, I know on spreadsheets, and I know you're not talking about that yet, but if they erase a formula, you can find out who did it, and that's all that matters is who did it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, as long as it wasn't you is what you're trying to say. And Micah brings up a very good point. We're talking about Google Docs right now, your word processing. All this stuff is available in the spreadsheets as well as the presentations, the slides. So again, an exercise that a lot of teachers do at the beginning of the year is like, what did you do for your summer holidays? And so the teachers will actually create 15 slides, put the name of each student on the slide, and share it to the class and say, okay, find the slide with your name on it, throw in whatever you want on your slide that talks about what you did this summer. So the student can go in, put in whatever graphics, whatever text they want, and then when the teacher's ready, it just says, okay, opens up, does the presentation, and say, all right, slide 1, Bobby, looks like you were in Hungary, tell us all about that. So there's really lots of really interesting things to do. And do we have any other questions that we want to talk about, comments or anything like that before I move on to some quick use cases?
Just a quick, very nice and interesting. It is a great way and tools to work with. Thank you.
Thank you. I love when people see this and they go, oh, wow, there's stuff I can do with this.
I have a question, and you're possibly going to cover it, but when is it that you invite people, and how do you invite people to collaborate with you?
Okay. Whenever you create a document, by default, you are the only owner of that document. So I'm going to go and show my sharing again.
Yeah, there's actually a couple ways to share.
Yeah, I'm going to go the easy way. if this is my document, I go up to here to share. Now, this here typically reads, this is your general audience. So what kind of rights do you want to give to your general audience? And here are the different choices. I can say, make this means anyone can find it. Google will find a way to index it. It'll allow it to be indexed, and anyone can access it. Or do I only want people who have the link? So even if it happens to show up in a Google search or something like that, you can only access it if you have the link. So it's not going to be generic like that. Or is it specific people? This is the other thing that's really important, is what is the access? There's edit, comment, and view.
Amen.
So
very important. Very important, because who has access? You may not want them having editing rights. Just adding that.
Yeah, exactly. So in the case for the documents that I shared with you guys, I said anyone with the link, so that way I didn't have to worry about asking for your email address and getting those all set up and stuff, though I could do it. But because I just say anyone with the link, this particular document I changed it to edit, but I had before can comment, and you remember the first document was can view. So those are depending on what you want. The can view in public, I think this is the one I was talking about that's a great replacement for PDFs. Because typically when people are doing PDFs, it's a Microsoft Word document, you make a PDF and you throw it up on a website, then you have to download it, open it up in your, if your browser is configured, great. If it's not configured, you have to open it up in Adobe Acrobat Reader, etc., etc. But if you skip all that and go right to this document and make it a view only, then you should share the link to the world. I can make it to the world. They can only view it, and that's what they get to see. So it's like a PDF, but it just works better on your screen. And then the beauty is, if I need to, I can go in and make a change. Because I don't know about you, but I've been in places where someone will send a newsletter out, and then 5 minutes later I get another copy of the newsletter because someone's name was spelled wrong or the link wasn't included properly and all that kind of stuff. Whereas here, if the link's wrong, I just go in and change it, and we're done. That make sense?
It's a beautiful thing.
Okay, and here's another trick that a lot of people don't recognize. If I give you all editing access, we're all collaborators, we can resolve these comments that we have on the side there. We all have the power to resolve them. But you also, as a collaborator, can change the viewing rights as well as add different people. And there's a little link down here that most people never see. When you click on it, whoops, that's the wrong one. Let me say this first.
You just made it public, I think.
That's okay. Public on the web, and no one else can think. It says editors will be allowed to add people and change the permissions. So if I give make you guys collaborators and editors, you could add other people to it. You could change other people's accesses. If I don't trust you that much, I can go in and then say only the owner can change the permission. Only the owner can add people. Because maybe I don't want this shared with their mother or whoever else to go in and make those changes. So.
But Trevor, let's just say, because maybe you did this by accident and you made this a public document you didn't really want to. Can you go back and change it and revoke, in essence, the public access?
Yep. Yep. In fact, that document that I had before was set up to edit. I'm just going to go back in and change that so that the public can't get access. Share my screen. So here, I'm going to make the public. Only specific people can access it. I'll hit save. So this is a private document. Only I can access it. I'm an owner, but I'm going to add people in here. So in this case, I'm going to add my old dog, Jazz the Poodle.
Just as you're doing that, I'm getting a message on my screen that says access is denied. I no longer have permission to access the document.
Sorry, man. It's I just can't trust you. But Jazz here, I can trust. So I can add in a whole bunch of names if I want. I can add a message in and just hit send, and Jazz will actually end up getting a message in a little while that shows that she's now a collaborator for that document.
And clearly a better typer than I am. That's interesting.
I just got a couple other things I want to do, and then we can wrap up. So I want to talk about some use cases, and one of the ones that I love Google sharing Google Docs with is a checkbox or a list. So, for example, let's say that there's 3 of us or 4 of us. Let's say when we're trying to put on a party. So someone's got to order balloons, someone's got to get the cake, someone's got to do this, someone's got to do that. If you use a spreadsheet and you share that document, you could go in and then at any point in time check off, yes, I've got this, no, I don't have this. For example, I've actually created a document that we would use for a scavenger hunt. I will share that document. Can we see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is we're all familiar with scavenger hunts, and typically what happens is you get 2 pieces of paper throughout in these large groups of 5 going, do you have this, do you have that? I taught a class a couple months ago, and basically I had 2 different candy machines outside of the building. So I said,
Trevor, we see your screen, but it's the wrong document.
Really?
Yeah, you're not sharing the spreadsheet, which
Thank you for that. Let me try this one more time.
It was our agenda. Now you got it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. So in this case, I had 2 candy machines, and I sent people out, and they were actually using their mobile devices, their iPads, to do this. So I would say, I'm going to ask you guys to go in and pretend you're in front of a candy machine and tell me what's there. So these guys are from all over the United States. I'm up here in Canada, and if I had my mobile device, they had their mobile device, our scavenger hunt, it's easy for me to see what we do have and what we don't have. In this case, they're just going through and pretending they're looking through a candy machine. But you can see now that if this was a scavenger hunt, it would be easy for me to say, okay, we don't have tongue tinglers, we don't have a coffee crisp, someone ate them all, thank you for that. But you can see now where we can take that and use that collaboration, sharing a document to do a checklist. Works really well for that.
It was the gopher. The gopher ate them all.
Of course the gopher did. I'm going to show you another quick one. Here's a travel authorization document. So someone has filled out this form. We've got this sample here. They filled out the form, and then I get it, the form. So Johnny Walker wants to go to a conference in Chicago, Illinois. Well, I got to talk to Daddy at Johnny Walker to see whether or not he approves. So what happens is I send a comment to Jazz. Now, when I originally had this document, Jazz was not part of it. By putting a plus sign and Jazz's name, it says, Jazz, you've been invited to become a commenter on this document. Do you want to accept? Yes. So I don't even have to go down up to the share part. It does it through here. Jazz now gets an email that says, hey, can you approve this budget code with a link back to this document? And then Jazz actually came in a little later and said, yes, he can go, budget code, woof, blah, blah, blah. So remember Michael was talking about the whole I didn't do it, yes, you did authorization? Mm-hmm. Commenting can do the same thing. It's a cheap authorization tool. It sits right there. Because Jazz has logged in as Jazz, we know that Jazz is the person who's actually made this comment. It's nobody else because it's tied to her account when she logged in. That makes sense to everyone?
So you did that by adding a comment, meaning you highlighted something and then did plus and then the email address, and it brought that person, gave that person permissions.
Yeah. Then I could go into
approve. They have to approve it, though. They have to approve that they want to. I mean, it gave them permissions to come in, but they have to say yes. They don't just get to come in. Just
exactly.
So you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So when he means approve, he means saying that yes, he wants to be part of that document. But now that he's made that comment in the document, yes, I approve, and the budget code, it is now part of that document. And that doesn't leave. It stays with that document. So again, you know, years down or two weeks down the road when someone says, well, I didn't give you permission, you can pull a document up and say, well, yes, you did. And because they only have comment, they can't delete it, resolve it, or anything like that.
Yes, you did, because you said WOOF 23-4357 or whatever it was. So
exactly.
Have documentation.
Yeah. So the last thing I'm going to do is I do have a document for with handy links for you guys that I'm going to provide in our show notes and also attach them to the video. And it's got all the stuff we talked about. These first 4 videos talk everything that we've talked about, and so it goes all into a little bit more detail. I've also put some links in here on some of the stuff that we talked about, and even going into some of the document stuff, some of the tips. You work with documents, here's some styles, table of contents, research. Documents is such a powerful tool, and for what most people use Microsoft Word for, you really don't need it. So Google Docs will do the work for you. Any other comments or questions or anything, guys?
Looks good. Good job.
Awesome.
Yes.
I wish I had this training before I did a really big project a month ago, because this would have made my life lots easier.
Well, think about the next month. What's how easy it's going to be.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no other questions, I'd like to thank my colleagues here for joining us on the session. Again, Ronnie Bincer, the Hangout Helper, Michael Daniels, who's part of Michael Daniels. You'll have to Google him, but he's really big into the business Hangout, which takes our Google Hangouts and Heather Crafter, our crafty person, who's check out her site if you're into crafts and stuff. She's got some really good ideas and stuff. Do you have any back-to-school suggestions?
Nah, I homeschool, so I don't have any.
Okay. but she'll have something for Christmas. No worries. And that's it. I'm Trevor Beck, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments on our events page or on the YouTube channel. Thanks very much for coming, guys.
Thank you, Trevor.
See ya.